I think sometimes trying to come up with something that will impress people is probably one of the toughest things that we'll ever do. And it is probably one of the most laborious things also when we wake up and think, oh, wow, how can I inspire? Well, inspiration comes from being in that moment. And being in that moment takes you to, let the past be, let the future, accept the fact that it's coming and just revel right here, right now, which is the hardest thing to do. I'm not telling you that I do it all the time, but I'm telling you it's probably one of the toughest things. And especially when you're in that moment and everybody, seems to be, having a good time and things like that. It creates the greatest memories in the world. The only challenge is then we turn back around and we try and plan out how we can have another one of those experiences. Well, this happened to me the other day, and I was sitting down. I was reading Proverbs 15, the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Inchstones. And what we do is we go through 3,000-year-old wisdom and see how we can apply it in today's time. And when I was reading Proverbs 15, I was looking at it. I was like, how am I going to be able to inspire all these people and maybe come up with a great anecdotal story? And this is the thing that he said to me. What if my word was enough? What if my divine word was enough? That you didn't have to candy coat it. You didn't have to wrap it in anything. You just were able to bring the truth, and that was enough. And I sat and I tell you, I had a little argument at first with God because I was like, well, you got to do, and he's like, what if my word is enough? So today, Proverbs 15, the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, is all about asking yourself, what if his word was enough? Let's get this party started.
Achieving, cause we believing it's for certain. We put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting right before your eyes. So it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Back in the happiest place in the world, back here in the studio. And what if God's word was enough? What if that was the case? What if we could just sit in and say, I don't need someone to tell me an anecdotal story. I don't need them to walk me through these things. Although the parables are great and the stories are great, and I'll bring you stories, and I'll bring you stories about my life and about, things that I've got to experience, things like that. And we're inspired by them. But God was just asking me, what if my word was enough? And so if you're tuning in for the first time, again, this is Inchstones. We have 3 different shows on the podcast, which 1, we interview some of the most iconic people in the world. 2, we have one that is this, which is a commentary about 15 to 20 minutes where we go through and we grab wisdom and we see how it can apply to today. This is great for your walk. And we're going to give you some actionable items today. And we do this on every one of the Inchstones. The 3rd show that we have is that I go live and then I call my friends randomly out of my phone, and they don't know they're on the podcast, tell they're on the podcast. So if you saw if you are watching on Spotify or on YouTube, make sure you click the follow button or the subscribe button. It helps us out. Comment. That's an amazing thing. If you're listening to it on Apple, I want you to know that the music that was playing was a commercial of the Vibe Room, which is coming up November 9th. It's almost sold out. It's a live version of the podcast, and we are going to have some amazing guests. One of the women, she has a YouTube channel, built it to over 12.6 million people. Her and her husband did. Incredible story, entrepreneur, mom, single mom now. I mean, unreal story. We got Coach Keith, one of the baddest coaches on the planet because he has all the receipts for all the things that he's done. And also, this guy, Barron, I tell you, I keep peeling it back. This man is responsible for the boom of yoga throughout the United States and throughout the world. This guy is at the very forefront of the yoga movement, but also in leadership. I mean, he is an unreal human, and he's going to be there on November 9th in Salt Lake City at the Edison House, and the tickets are available. You can click the link. Let's hop right into this, guys, because what if God's word was enough. And this was the question that was asked for me over and over and over again that day. And as I was reading through it, in verse 1, 2, 4, 7, 14, 23, 26, and 28, he just said, answer gently. Just answer gently. Like there's so many times where I want to have this, especially in today's society, where we're inundated with reality shows and judge shows and things like that, like competitions where the judges need to be really raw and they need to have that truthful side, but a lot of times they're jabbing. I think of Simon Cowell with this, and what God was saying is just answer gently. Answer gently and just fill it with love. If you fill your heart with love, what'll happen is once it's full, the overflow of it is your words. And if you fill your heart with love, love will come out your mouth and you'll answer gently. And that was listed off. And I'll tell you again, it was verse 1, 2, 4, 7, 14, 23, 26, and 28. So just answer gently. That's pretty important there. In verse 3, 6, 8, 9, 11, 19, 24, it went like this. They know, you know, and he knows. But it goes in that order. They know. If you're faking the funk, if you're trying to do something and you know it's not true, the people will know. They sniff it out. It's just like my dog Ziggy, the little puppy that was so cute when we got him on vacation, which I wouldn't suggest, but now is eating up everything. But he knows, like when I call him and I call him in a certain tone, he knows and he cowers and he runs away. And then there's times where I'm like, hey, Ziggy, you're so cute. And he comes. They know, like people know. They know because of your energy. We talk about this as far as the vibe, right? So your vibe is not the energy that you bring into the room, but it's the way in which people feel when you leave. And if you want to have an irresistible vibe, you'll align your heart set, your mindset, and your skill set. And when those are aligned, you have an irresistible vibe that people just want to be around. On the flip side of it, when you don't, when those things aren't in alignment, when your heart, your mind, and your actions aren't in line, what starts to happen is people will know. And then, like, when you're not doing the right thing. And most of all, God knows. God knows every single thing, and he's going to see you. So just be conscious of that in verse 5, 10, 12, 20, 21, 25, 31, and 32. He just calls us to invite correction. Invite as much correction as we possibly can into our life. And when we invite correction, it's like, I said it before, like if you don't want somebody's boot up your butt, then put your own boot up there because there won't be any room for anybody to come along. And so when we invite discipline into our life, when we say like, how could I get better? It's so much easier for you to ask that question than for someone to come say to you, you know what? I think this should be better. We'll accept it different. We jump to a different level, and that's when we start to run at a different plane. And I know it's unpopular to say, but honestly, like if you don't want someone else's boot in your butt, then put your own there and invite discipline into your life. In verse 15, it talks about this, and I hear my mom's voice in this all the time, is just guard your heart. Guard your heart. The only way that something will get into your heart is through your eyes, through your ears, and through your senses, what you become aware of through your senses. So just guard those things. Be conscious of what you see. Be conscious of what you hear. And guard your heart at all costs. I pointed at the wrong side. Guard your heart at all costs. And my mom would say this all the time, and I didn't realize at the time, I didn't realize how important that was, but guard your heart. In verse 16 and 17, the real stuff is where the value is. The real stuff is where the value is. I think that's self-explanatory. But in our day-to-day, most of the time we're taught that a lot of maybe not as valuable is better. And just be conscious that the real stuff is where the value's at. This was something from my pops, and I hear it over and over again, but it came up in verse 18. It was breathe, drink water, and pray. Breathe, take a second. Drink water, stay fluid. Stay fluid so you can roll with the punches. Have a good time. Don't think about like, oh, it has to be so serious all the time. Just have a really, really good time through your day and then pray. Pray about everything. Nothing is too small to pray for. Be very, very specific and keep a prayer list, write it down and date it and leave a little room for when God answers the prayer so you can write it down and say when he answered it too. But it's not writing it down so you can remind God. It's writing it down so you remember where the blessing came from when it ultimately comes. Because a lot of times we say, oh, that came out the blue. No, it didn't. You prayed about it, and then it came into fruition. But sometimes it comes into fruition a lot later. a lot later, and we just forget where it actually came from. So breathe, drink water, and pray. In verse 22, seek wise counsel. It's pretty simple. In verse 27, generosity is a winner all the time. When you're generous with your time, when you're generous with your heart, when you're generous with your love, when you're generous all throughout your life, what'll start to happen is you'll start to see wins in your life. Now, this is tough because sometimes you will be generous and then you'll see something transpire and, in somebody else's life, and you'll be like, oh man, that's what I wanted. But be happy for them. Be generous in every aspect of your life, and it'll pay dividends at the highest level. In verse 29, it just reiterates, pray about everything, even the smallest, littlest things. Sometimes people think, oh, I don't want to take this to God because like he's busy or this is not enough. No, take every single thing that you possibly can. And in verse 30, watch this. It says, light in the eyes, joy in the heart. Good news is health to the bones. When you have light in your eyes, you'll have joy in your heart. When there's good news, it'll give health to the bones. And finally, as we wrap up with this, is verse 33, right? Wisdom's great instruction. Wisdom's great instruction. And then it just says, fear the Lord. Wisdom's great instruction. Like if you seek wisdom, wisdom will always lead you to fear God, because the beginning of wisdom is to fear God. Now, when I say fear, interchange that word in the context of when they were writing this, and I've talked about this before, but in the context of the writing, fear actually just meant respect. And if you respect something, it means that you saw the words and the actions and they were in line. When you see that happen in someone's life, or you see that happen in your own life, you have the tendency to respect that person. If you spend time with them, you see what they say and what they do, they're in line, you respect them. And when that happens, right? So when we fear God or respect him, meaning we spend time with him, hear his word, see his actions, they're in line, we respect him, then that's the beginning of wisdom. And then wisdom's instruction is always to fear God. So it's a circle. If I want wisdom, I got to fear God. And what will wisdom always tell me to do? Fear God. So it'll give me more wisdom, which will cause me to fear God, which will cause me to get more wisdom. So it's a cycle that way. What if God's word was enough? That's in verse 33. It's Proverbs 15. I want to thank every one of you for joining us on Inchstones. It's just the little tiny things that we can do every single day that will create the milestones. And if our Inchstones, if we focus on those Inchstones, we stay present in today, right now, and we celebrate this time, what'll start to happen is those things, those Inchstones will pile up and they'll become the milestones as we move forward. My challenge to you today is ask yourself, what if God's word was enough and you just sat in it and spent maybe 15 minutes? Read this Proverbs 15. I promise you it'll bring so much wisdom. And it won't just be, this is just my side. This is my interpretation of it. But first you'll read the word, then it'll start to read you. My name is Kelly Cardenas. Thank you so much for tuning in. Check out the Vibe Room. Grab the book on Amazon, The Vibe. It's there. Click the link there. You could get Bling Shine Serum too. Every woman needs a little bling in their life, and it adds moisture, strength, and shine. And every woman needs it in their life, I promise you. It's a nice to do until you have it, and then it's a have to do for the rest of your life. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Achieving, cause we believing, it's for certain, we put the work in, we ain't stopped just because it's hurting, right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise, the takeover is televised, over and over and over again, make no mistake, we continue to win, defeat never known, cause I will not lose, they wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my